Hey everybody, it's Steve Kastenko from 8m.com. You know, we're a generation raised on instant formula, disposable diapers, satellite TV, GPS navigation, online check-in, online check-out, automatic everything. We're always plugged in and wired. We're accustomed to having answers at the snap of our fingertips. You know what I want to know? How does this all affect our communication with God? So joining me today is Daniel Darling. He's a pastor, popular author, and speaker. Daniel, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be on the show.
Hey, so let me ask you this. Does all this technology affect our communication with God?
It does, and that's something that we are still figuring out because technology is continually evolving. And I would say for our generation, I'm only 33. I think we're the first generation that has always grown up with things so fast, everything on instant. Everything. I say we were raised on instant, and we're trying to figure out how this affects the way that we live our lives. And I do think there are good and bad ways that it affects the way we communicate with God.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's start with some of the bad ways it affects our communication with God.
Well, I think the biggest thing, the first thing, is it affects our ability to wait on the Lord. If there's one thing our generation loathes to do, it's to wait. I know myself, if I'm heating up a TV dinner and it's supposed to be 2 minutes, gosh, that 2 minutes seems like 4 hours, And we have never had to wait for anything because we have a question, we Google it. I mean, we have smartphones, we have iPhones now. We don't have to wait for any information. We don't wait in line because we do online check-in. I don't like to wait for anything. I always say, I don't care if they're giving away a free car. I'm not waiting in line. And yet we serve a God who delights in making us wait. All through Scripture, he says, wait on the Lord. And if you look at the lives of all the main characters in the Scriptures, God would give him a promise and then make him go through this agonizing wait and uncertainty before he fulfilled it. And so I think that's the one symptom of our generation, that we don't like to wait.
And what about the good thing that's created?
Well, one of the good things about it is, more than anything, our generation is relational. We like to connect. I think we understand connection better than any other generation. And really, this is what God offers us. If you look at John 15, and he talks about the analogy of the vine and the branches, well, most of us don't live near vineyards, so that doesn't evoke much to us. But if you think about being always on, being always online, being always connected, and that's what Jesus is offering. He's saying that I don't just want to be someone you see on Sunday and you get a refill and that lasts till Tuesday. I want to have a relationship with you that's always on. And if you think about, if you do like instant messaging and you look in the corner, we're on Skype right now, and if you have Skype on, you can see who's online, who's not, and you can always just go have a conversation with them. And that's what Christ is offering. He's saying, look, I'm always available, I'm always online, and I want to be there with you. And I think that's something we might understand better than any other generation.
Yeah, but I totally agree that I think we're really connected, but some would argue that this technology has kind of made us more lonely. What do you say?
It has. It absolutely has. That is a great point. There's a perverse pull of social networking and the internet that we would rather be with our online, quote, friends than with our flesh and blood friends.
Okay, why is that? Why is that?
I think because we can project an image to people online, we can kind of hone and craft that person that we present to people. We can, you read our Facebook post, it presents the best part of us, or maybe a part of us we wish we were. Like I see people are very bold on Facebook and speak their mind, but that's not really them. It's sort of a projection of who they are. Loved ones living in communal relationship in an intimacy with people requires you to reveal all of yourself. They see all of you. They see when you get up in the morning. They see you when you're cranky, when you're sick, and that takes work. And online relationships are really, we can be in control.
Yeah, and I think it also feeds into that wanting things done very quickly, very fast. I can become friends with someone within a matter of seconds on Facebook. Whereas to develop a real deep relationship takes a lot of work. I'm speaking from experience. I'm from New York City, and I moved to the Netherlands. And the two couldn't be more polar opposites. Where New York, everyone's moving very quickly. No one has time for anything. No one wants to hang out. In the Netherlands, they go out of their way to get to know you and to find out who you are. So it's the most uncomfortable thing in the world. So let me ask you this. How does all this affect our prayer life?
Well, I think it affects our prayer life in that we want things right now. We want things instant. It's hard in some ways, I think it really hurts our prayer life because technology has given us the illusion of being in control. And arguably, the average person is in control of more of his life today than ever in history. I mean, you can go online and create your own movies. You can get involved politically. You can do things yourself. You can find answers to questions. You can go online and get your own education on demand at your own pace. And yet, and so we think we're in control. But prayer involves the bowing of the will and humility, realizing that I am not a God. There is a transcendent God above me who controls my destiny, and I have no control. And so there's that tension with those of us who are moderns that way, and I think increasingly we're being pulled away from prayer into things we can control. For instance, I know my tendency when I have a hard trial or something comes up, I have to be honest with you, it's to retreat sometimes into the online world, go check Facebook, go check email, distract myself or go towards something that I can control and ignore the thing that I have to trust the Lord for instead of retreating to prayer. I don't know if you find that same temptation.
Oh, totally. Are you kidding me? I mean, this week has been a big trial. And I found myself, I should be doing some real important things, that are going to be difficult to do. I found myself checking Facebook and seeing how many people asked for my friendship on Facebook. Isn't that weird? It's bizarre.
I do the same thing. I find, real hard trial and I'm going and checking news. It's like, it has nothing to do, but it's like, I just want to ignore the things that are hard and go to what I can control. And I think that's the tension we live in.
You're a pastor, and there's a lot of pastors within our audience. How have you used technology to kind of interact with your church?
Well, we're working on that. We're a small church, and so, but we're working on getting, like, for instance, a Facebook page and getting announcements updated. Texting is, I think, a really great tool for pastors. There's a lot of times where you can't commit to a whole phone conversation, but you can take care of a lot of different things. You can be a little bit more personal in text. I think technology affords us a way to push the message in a variety of different formats and get it in front of people's eyes in a lot of different ways. We're starting to use it a little bit more in my service. I also podcast my sermons. This is a way I think that technology today affords us a great opportunity to really learn. In fact, I really advocate people getting an iPod or an iPhone or something and podcasting. And gosh, you could redeem your commute. You can drive 30, 40 minutes to work, and you can be in church. You can be hearing preaching. And I think so. That is one. I really push that for people to really use these tools to grow. I mean, there's no excuse not today for us not to hear good preaching and to grow, not just in church, but throughout the week.
I couldn't agree more with you. I think, for the distances I travel or the time I spend on an airplane, the iPods and listening to messages is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So what kind of advice could you give to pastors who are maybe a little older than you and I are, and maybe they're not familiar with all the technology, but certainly their congregation is? What recommendations could you give? What kind of advice would you give them?
I think there's a balance. I think as the church, we don't want to chase technology in the sense that just to be hip. I think the methodology has to be, let's use technology for a purpose. Let's not just introduce a piece of technology into our personal lives or into the life of the church simply because we can, or because someone down the street did it, or because some really hip church did it. Let's look at each piece of technology as an opportunity. Do we need this? Do we not? Older pastors, here's what I would say. In today's world, you talked about being connected and how relationally we suffer, and the difference between New York and where you are now in the Netherlands. This is where older pastors really have an advantage in the sense that people are crying out for connectivity. Our generation is looking less for leaders that are hip and cool and more for father figures, mentors, guides. Look, to reach the young generation, you don't have to be technologically savvy because we are surrounded all the time with content. And so to have a real-world conversation is such a different thing and such a refreshing thing. I think that's something we should pursue. Christians who can relate to people, who love people, who can strip out all the distractions and be real and relational will stand out and have a much bigger influence in the world, I would say. So don't feel bad that you're not, technologically savvy, that you're out of the conversation. Look, we're getting images and stuff hitting us all week. To just have a real conversation over a cup of coffee with a wise older man is such a wonderful, invaluable thing, I would think.
You're working on a new book right now. What's it about?
This is a book for second-generation Christians, what I call Christians who grew up in the church. And I'm addressing, I think, what are the unique challenges of growing up in the church. Not in a way that attacks the church, because I love the church. I think it's God's instrument for change in this world. But there's a perception sometimes that if you grow up in the right system, the right parenting techniques, and the right discipleship programs, that you really won't have any faith challenges. You won't have any doubts or struggles. And that's not the reality. And in fact, I think they're unique challenges for someone who's known Jesus their whole life. And I kind of want to address that and help us get an intimate faith, revive our faith, refresh our faith for those who know Jesus.
I think it's definitely needed. When is that going to come out?
It's going to come out in June of next year, Lord willing. So we're working on it at this point, and very, very excited about it. I've got conversations in there with some leading evangelicals like John Acuff from Stuff Christians Like. Max Lucado's daughter, Andrea, agreed to do an interview with me. So I'm going to feature some conversations in there with that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. You're going to come back on the program for that interview.
I absolutely will. I'd love to. Yeah, this is terrific.
Great. Hey, Daniel, thank you so much for coming on the program. You can get his book, iFaith, at Christian Bookstore, Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, ChristianBook.com. Check out his websites. The link below is danieldarling.com. Daniel, God bless you, and thank you so much.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.